Okay, so today we have Swingin' Party by The Replacements. The Replacements, as I've said before, are one of my favorite bands that I have found through the channel. Every time I come to a song to react to, I think I'm probably going to like it. I don't think there's any song I would dislike by the band. I just love their sound. If you can't tell as well, I am a bit sunburnt because I went camping. But anyway, we're going to get into this, talk about it after. Swingin' Party, no music video, just the song. Here we go. Mellow.
Somewhere there's a party. Here it's never ending. Can't remember when it started. Pass around the lampshade. They'll be planning a room in jail. If being wrong's a crime, I'm serving forever. Being strong and kind, I need help here with this feather. Being afraid is a crime. We hang side by side at the swinging party down the line.
Oh my goodness.
On the prairie pavement, losing propositions, quitting school and going to work and never going fishing. Water all around, never learn how to swim now. If being wrong's a crime, I'm serving forever. Being strong to kind, then I need help here with this feather. If being afraid is a crime, we hang side by side. Swinging party down the line. At the swinging party down the line. Somewhere there's a party. Here it's never ending. Can't remember when it started. Passing on the lampshades, there'll be plenty of room in jail. Being wrong's a crime. I'm serving forever. Being strong is what you want, and I need help here with this feather. Crime, we hang side by side at the swinging party down the line. At the swinging party down the line. Catch the time at the swinging party down the line.
Oh my gosh. There it is, Swingin' Party by The Replacements. Now, even though the title is called Swingin' Party, this track is not really swinging in an upbeat fashion. I mean, this is what I like about The Replacements is you got songs like Unsatisfied, which is obviously a bittersweet song itself, but the sound is monstrous. You get another song like Bastards of Young that is just fucking in your face too and punchy. And then you come to a song like this. I love where they have that range. Again, they can be bold and big, or they can be bittersweet, melancholic, and stripped back and a little bit more laid back. And another thing that came to mind here, another word that came to mind here was loose. Although the song, again, is very sad and is very vulnerable. There is a bit of a loose feeling to it. It sounds very clean, and I guess, again, that goes along with the kind of mellower tone to it all. But anyway, I just love where they can go, and I love either sound of the band, whether, again, it's big or this. And I just love how it's again so stripped back. It feels so somber. You got Paul Westerberg's vocals, which I've talked about so many times, but I mean, again, we're doing reactions to the band. You got to talk about them. But how vulnerable he is here. Again, the whole song is, but he, especially on the vocals, how throaty he is. I mean, that's the only way I could say it. Just that rasp that he possesses that I just never get tired of. And when he sings like this, you believe him. He has that voice that you can believe, that straining that he has there. And I do like too at different points where he would raise his voice too. And again, it's nothing like where he goes big and bold and just shouts, but it just, you could tell that that range was there and that he could, I guess, get more bold if he wanted to, but the song did not call for it. And I just love how you go from that and you got the gentle electric guitar work here, which, as I've seen people say, and people have told me in the comments too, there's a bit of a jazz feeling to it all. There's a bit of a jazz, a bit of a rock and roll feel. Of course, the band was an alternative rock band, I guess you would say. But there's those old tones, I guess, from like you would get from, again, the 50s and 60s. And of course, this came out in 85. But they infused it all and used the electric guitar to really get their point across here, that I do believe Paul Westerberg was on that electric guitar. But again, it's just that electric guitar provided the whole mood, I feel like. And not only that, but of course the acoustic guitar too, which was also very gentle. And I want to say Bob Stinson, I believe, would have been on the acoustic guitar here. But just the blend of that, and it created such, I can't set it up, but it created the somber tone here. It created the whole vibe that the track gave you. And it showed you right off the bat with those guitars that we were in for a sad ride, I guess you would say, a sad little experience. And two, you think about the band here, going to this point, this is where I wanted to go, really, right off the top. But the band, the Replacements, people say they were the worst enemy. People always say they should have been bigger. They should have been, fucking huge. And they weren't. And they're so underrated. And I probably mentioned this before, but my last reaction was to their song Alex Chilton. You think about how Alex Chilton was so underrated and that the band loved him, and how this band is so underrated. So anyway, an underrated band loved an underrated person. It just fits so well. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But how underrated and how everyone says they should have been bigger. And you think about how they're being a bit more vulnerable and honest here in talking about their partying ways, and talking about their I guess if you want to say drug use as well. Of course, again, Bob Stinson would pass away like 10 years after this. He passed in 95. Of course, Bob had a tragic upbringing too. If I've read about that, my goodness gracious. But anyway, and I just think about that, and I just think about how crazy they were. Their SNL performance comes to mind, and how they got banned from SNL. And anyway, this is like where they slowed down for a minute to talk about how fucking nuts they are. And they talk about how, I don't know, just how kind of, although it almost feels like this is going to be a bit of a romantic ballad, it's again talking about life and talking about the rut. I don't know if Paul himself is talking about he was in a rut, or if we're talking about a narrator here or what, but of course it just fits for the band again, as I said, because it feels like the band is just taking a moment to be vulnerable. Although this isn't their only vulnerable track, of course, I said it earlier, but Unsatisfied is a very vulnerable, honest track. But here's another moment here where they're showing their heart, putting their heart on their sleeve, and saying that, you got to calm down and smell the roses. You can't party all the time. And is this partying going like this because they're trying to fill some kind of a void? I mean, these deep, profound statements come to mind. And that also comes to mind because there's a lot of deep, profound, introspective, poignant, all these words, lines in the track where after Paul would finish it, I'd be like, oh, it's just so many lines that were just after one another, where I was like, oh my God, that hurts. And that's very real. That's very raw. That's very upfront. So I just love that. Again, I love the subtle blend of the jazz and rock and roll and all those things. I just loved how subtle the whole track was itself. And as I mentioned, I just loved how they leaned into that here, because sometimes they lean into bigger, bolder things, where that guitar solo I think of here too, where it was so understated and it could have been overstated, whatever. But again, the song did not call for that. And I just love how Paul took it, and it was very smooth. It was very gentle, as I said earlier. And I was going to say something else here, but my goodness gracious. Anyway. Very smooth track, and really just the bass guitar is very understated itself too, and there were moments where I would think about it for a second or listen more intently to the bass guitar, and I was like, my goodness gracious, he's Tommy Stinson is was doing very well on the bass guitar too, and anyway, so there you go there. Just like how it had a bit of a jangle to it too, and I guess it's 85. Jangle was really in. You think about the Smiths behind me there, but anyway, I just loved how upfront and how raw and real, and I can't say it enough, but how open the guys were here, not just lyrically but musically too. As I wet my whistle. So, I guess I'll talk about the personnel. What the hell, it's been a while, but we know who everyone is. Paul Westerberg on vocals and electric guitar. As I mentioned, Paul is one of my favorite vocalists of all time. I know it's a voice that I would imagine like somebody like my sisters or something would not like. It's a voice that maybe some people don't like, but to me, I just love it because it's so aggressive, and I keep saying the word, but he just sounds so real. And that voice, whatever he says, to me anyway, it's a voice that you believe, and it just feels like he never phones in a performance vocally, because of just how strained his vocals are. Anyway, Chris Mars is on drums here and backing vocals. Bob Stinson on guitar. Again, Paul and Bob are beautiful here. And Tommy Stinson on bass. And like I said, I loved how understated he was, and how understated the whole song kind of was. It was very good. So let's move on to the lyrics here now, which are, again, pretty self-deprecating. They're pretty vulnerable, and they're telling you what it's like. My goodness. So here we go. And it's a track too. This is 85, 41 years ago. It's a track that's still very relevant, sadly, for a lot of people, talking about how life is just a bunch of, life is not a party for some people, and how people still today, live life paycheck to paycheck or whatever, and don't have time to go fishing and all those different things. So let's get into it. Bring your own lampshade. Somewhere there's a party. Here it's never ending. Can't remember when it started. And again, I just think about the band's life at that point. I just think about how they're partying all the time. And it's like they got sober for a second, or at least Paul did, or whatever, just to think about, what the hell am I doing? Yeah, I just love it. Pass around the lampshade. There'll be enough room in jail. And again, I would imagine maybe the band members ended up in jail every now and then. And of course, the lampshade, I guess you think about, the peak of a party is when someone's wearing a lampshade, and now they're passing around the lampshade, and there'll be plenty enough room for it in jail, because that's where they seem to be heading. Then you go on with the chorus, and the way he says, if being wrong's a crime, I'm serving forever. Just the way that his voice would start here, and it would kind of go up here, but it wouldn't go up here. He just stayed in kind of his own place there, and anyway, just how it would raise a little bit, but not all the way. Then anyway, if being wrong's a crime, I'm serving forever. As I mentioned, so many great lines here that just make you go, oh, that hurts. If being strong's your kind, I need help here with this feather. And it seems like, as I mentioned, there are some lines here where I'm thinking about, is he talking about a partner? Is he talking about somebody? But at the end of the day, too, it seems like he does not want to be with whoever he may be talking about, because if being strong is your kind, I need help with this feather. Even though although he is strong, he wants to appear weak to whoever this is. Anyway, if being afraid is a crime, we hang side by side at the swinging party down the line. And as well, I think about hanging side by side. I think about suicide there, or hanging there, but also these two lines there just seem kind of hyperbolic in their own way. And again, just talking about how if being fearful is a crime, yeah, we hang side by side because he is fearful. He is anxious. He is all these things that you are when you're young and you don't know what you're doing with your life. And even if you're not in a band, whatever, these guys are in a band. And again, I don't know if they're specifically talking about themselves, but it seems like they kind of are. And they're kind of just at a crossroads here with what they're doing. Once the party stopped, what's next? But anyway, and that whole part, if being wrong is a crime, I'm serving forever. It's just such a self-deprecating line, and it just shows where their heads are at and what they feel like. Then you go pound the prairie pavement, losing proposition. Of course, the prairie pavement, which is hard for me to say. You think about Minnesota, you think about how grassy it is there, and you think about all the lakes too, because I think he talks about water at one point too, and maybe in the same verse. But you talk about their upbringing, what they were around. Good God, if I could talk. Pound the prairie pavement, losing proposition. Trying to find a job. Doesn't seem like that he can. Quitting school and going to work and never going fishing. Again, it it makes me think of a song, which is a song that was from a couple years ago from Oliver Tree, who recently died. This is very out there now, but I think about the song "Life Goes On," which is his biggest one. Work all day and then I wake up, and it just seems though that kind of a line fits here too. Quitting school and not going to school to maybe get a bigger job that you don't have to work all the time for to make ends meet. But in this situation here, quitting school and going to work and never going fishing because never having time to do any kind of leisure activity. Just you're always on the clock. You're always trying to make money to live. And it's like, what kind of a life is that? And as I mentioned, that's what people today are still going through, especially with inflation and such. Anyway, water all around. Never learn how to swim now. It's just every line. It's just what a lyricist. From his voice just being fantastic, but he's such a friggin' good lyricist too, because it just makes every line makes you feel. Every line makes you feel his disappointment or makes you feel his anxiety. At least for me, I don't know. But water all around. As I mentioned, Minnesota has so many different lakes. I mean, it's the land of 10,000 lakes, whatever the saying is, but never learned how to swim. And not only in the literal way there, but also never learned how to swim in a way of like never learned how to be an adult, I think of. He feels like he doesn't fit in with the rest of the adults around him. He doesn't know where the fuck he's going. It's just that kind of thing comes to mind too. Just confusion. Then you got the chorus again. If being wrong's a crime, I'm serving forever. Just gonna be in my head all day now. If being strong's your kind, then I need help with this feather. Oh my goodness gracious, he's just wants to appear weak again, as I mentioned maybe, and then but we already went over that a bit. So let's go on to the guitar solo. What you mentioned was pretty understated. It was pretty gentle, smooth, easy to get into, easy to bob your head along to, fit the song perfectly. And then you got the third, and I do believe final verse I want to say. Bring your own lampshade. Somewhere there's a party. Here it's never ending. Can't remember when it started. Pass around the lampshade. There will be plenty enough room in jail. And as I mentioned, I mean, those lines there, that whole, what was it again? That whole third verse could be attributed to almost any band at this time in the 80s or 70s, 60s, whatever it is. A lot of bands who just partied. And the party once was over for especially the Replacements when they split and when people died and all that comes to mind too. So anyway, it was just a whirlwind of a life for them at that point, I would imagine, in the 80s here. And as I mentioned too, this is a kind of a moment where they stood back and looked at what was going on in their life. And yeah, being wrong's a crime, I'm serving forever. My goodness gracious, as we go in with that chorus again, which you've already gone through. But the title being Swingin' Party, I just love that because, at least for me coming into this, I was thinking, oh, maybe this is going to be a bit more thunderous. It was going to be in your face, all those different things. It was going to be punchy and blah, but it wasn't. Swingin' Party, this is quite the swingin' party. This is a sad swingin' party, and I just loved where the band went with it. So there you go there. So one of my favorite bands to come from Minnesota, good lord. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing, commenting, all those different things. Really appreciate all the support. Really appreciate people requesting more replacements because I love the Replacements to bits. So there you go there. Thanks for everything. I'll talk to you guys again soon.